Hello, my amazing students, and welcome back to Daily English. Today, we're going to talk about something that might change your entire English learning journey. Have you noticed that even though you know thousands of English words, even though you understand grammar, and even though you can read articles or listen to conversations, something still feels difficult? When you try to express yourself, when you want to share your ideas, it's like there's an invisible barrier stopping you. You hesitate, you pause, you search for words. Does this sound familiar? Here's what's really happening. Most English learners spend years studying the language, but they never practice the most important skill of all: thinking in English. Instead, what happens is this. You think of an idea in your native language first. Then your brain works hard to translate that idea word by word into English. And this translation process, it slows everything down. It makes you tired. It makes conversation feel like hard work instead of natural communication. But here's the exciting news. Once you learn to think directly in English without that translation step, everything changes. Your speaking becomes faster. Your confidence grows. You stop feeling exhausted after English conversations. And most importantly, you start to feel like English is truly yours, not just something you study from a textbook. So let me guide you through practical ways to make this happen. These aren't complicated theories. These are real strategies that work. Let's start with something you do every single day. Talking to yourself. Yes, I'm serious. We all have that inner voice in our heads, the one that comments on our day, makes plans, or just thinks random thoughts. Right now, that voice probably speaks in your native language. But what if we could slowly train that voice to speak in English instead? Here's how you begin. Choose the simplest moments of your day. When you open your eyes in the morning, try saying in your head, "Time to wake up." When you're getting ready, think, "I should take a shower," or "Where are my keys?" These thoughts are short and simple, which makes them perfect for practice. You're not writing an essay in your mind. You're just narrating your life in basic English. As you go through your day, keep doing this. Walking outside, look around and describe what you notice. The sky looks cloudy. That dog is cute. This coffee is too hot. It might feel awkward at first. I understand that. Your brain might resist because it's so used to your native language. But remember, nobody can hear these thoughts. This is your private practice space. There's no pressure, no judgment, no fear of making mistakes. The beautiful thing is, the more you do this, the more natural it becomes. After a few weeks, you'll notice that some English thoughts just appear automatically. You won't have to force them anymore. Your brain will start choosing English on its own for certain situations. That's when you know it's working. Now, let's talk about input. Your brain learns from what it receives. If you only hear and read English during your study time, maybe 1 or 2 hours a day, that's not enough exposure. You need to surround yourself with English throughout your day. Think of your brain as a garden. The more you water it with English, the more it grows. Listen to English while you're doing other things. Put on English podcasts while cooking. Watch English YouTube videos while exercising. Play English music in the background while cleaning your room. And here's the important part. Don't stress about understanding every single word. That's not the goal right now. The goal is to make English a constant presence in your environment so your brain gets used to its rhythms, its sounds, its patterns. When you do this regularly, something magical happens. Your brain stops seeing English as something foreign and starts seeing it as something familiar. And when something is familiar, your brain can process it much faster. Eventually, you'll find yourself understanding things without trying so hard. Words and phrases will just make sense naturally. There's something else I want you to understand about English thinking. Different languages organize thoughts in different ways. In English, we tend to be quite direct. We like short, clear sentences. We get to the point quickly. If you try to think in English the same way you think in your native language, especially if your language uses long, complex sentence structures, you're going to struggle. Instead, practice thinking in simple, straightforward English. Imagine you're sending a quick text message to a friend. That's how English thinking often works. For example, instead of constructing a long thought like, "Due to the numerous tasks I had to complete, I am experiencing significant fatigue," just think, "I'm tired. I had too much work today." See the difference? Both communicate the same idea, but the second one is natural and fast. This is actually how native speakers think most of the time. We don't use fancy vocabulary or complicated grammar in our heads. We keep it simple and clear. So give yourself permission to think in simple English. You don't need to impress anyone with your thoughts. You just need to practice moving in the language.
Here's another powerful tip. Stop worrying about making mistakes in your head. This is so important. Many learners block themselves from thinking in English because they're afraid their grammar won't be perfect. But remember, these are your private thoughts. Nobody is grading them. Nobody is listening. This is your safe space to experiment and practice. If you think, "Yesterday I go to store," but you know the correct form is went, that's okay. You still practiced thinking in English. Your brain still moved in that language. Over time, as you hear and read more correct English, your brain will naturally start choosing better grammar. But if you wait until you're perfect before you start thinking in English, you'll wait forever. Let me share another technique that really helps. Speak to yourself out loud when you're alone. I know it sounds a bit unusual, but it's incredibly effective. When you're by yourself at home, describe what you're doing as you do it. "I'm making tea now. The water is boiling. I'm adding sugar." Or if you're getting dressed, say, "I need to find a clean shirt. This one looks good. Now I'll put on my shoes." This practice does two things at once. First, it trains your brain to think in English. Second, it trains your mouth to produce English sounds smoothly. You're building muscle memory in your speaking, which will help you sound more natural when you talk to real people later. Visualization is another incredibly useful tool. When you learn new English words, don't connect them to your native language words. Connect them directly to mental images or feelings. If you learn the word rain, picture drops of water falling from gray clouds. If you learn excited, imagine the feeling of butterflies in your stomach before something fun. If you learn comfortable, imagine yourself relaxing on a soft couch. This direct connection between English words and meanings is exactly how native speakers' brains work. We don't translate. We just know what words mean because they're connected to experiences, images, and feelings. When you build these same connections, you'll find that English words come to you much faster because your brain doesn't have to make that translation detour.
Try to immerse yourself in small ways throughout your day. Change your phone's language to English. Write your shopping lists in English. If you keep a journal or diary, write it in English. Label things around your house with English words. These might seem like tiny changes, but they add up. They force your brain to operate in English during normal, everyday situations. And that's exactly the kind of practice that leads to thinking in English naturally. I want to be honest with you about something. This transformation won't happen overnight. Thinking in English is a skill, and like any skill, it takes time and consistent practice to develop. You might feel frustrated some days. You might feel like you're not making progress. But I promise you, if you keep practicing these techniques every single day, even just for a few minutes, your brain will gradually adjust. One day, maybe a few weeks from now, maybe a few months from now, you'll suddenly notice something wonderful. You'll catch yourself thinking a complete thought in English without even trying. Maybe you'll be looking at something and your automatic reaction in your mind will be in English. When that happens, celebrate it. That's proof that your brain is changing. That's proof that you're becoming a real English thinker, not just an English studier. And when you reach that point, when thinking in English becomes natural, everything else gets easier. Conversations flow smoothly, listening becomes effortless, speaking feels confident. You stop getting mentally exhausted from English because your brain isn't doing that exhausting translation work anymore. You just exist in the language comfortably. So here's what I want you to do starting today. Pick just one or two of these strategies and commit to them. Maybe you'll start with morning thoughts in English. Maybe you'll play English podcasts in the background. Maybe you'll talk to yourself while cooking dinner. Start small, be patient with yourself, and stay consistent. Remember, every thought you form in English, even if it's just 3 words, is training your brain. Every moment you spend hearing English is preparing your mind. You're not wasting time. You're building a valuable skill that will serve you for the rest of your life. Thank you for learning with me today. I believe in you, and I know you can do this. Keep practicing, stay motivated, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Take care.